My new Ford Fiesta WRC settings will be at the end of the video. Did a few runs to try and perfect, to the best of my abilities, my lines through the stage. This, of course, is Horka, my testing stage. And here's the replay. Oh, first, online rank. Oops. There we go. Wrong stage. I accidentally clicked the wrong button. Go to my rank. Wait, did I just do that right? Yeah, my rank. This is my rank as of now on the PS4. I don't know if it's cross-platform or not. I mean, for my abilities, I think that's pretty good, but I guess maybe I'm getting to my head a little bit too much. What do you call it? Bloated ego. 36. Usually I'm in top 200, or in, what is it? In the old Gran Turismo Academy series that they were hosting on the PS3 and such. I was placing in around 2,000 and top 200 in the nation, but I think I was in 5,000 in the world or something. It's not that great, but I don't know, I think it's pretty good. I'm satisfied with my my drive anyway. Here's the replay. So I've changed the settings to match closer to what I've learned from the WRC2 car. I learned I can get away with softer suspension at the sacrifice of some ride height, and the car is a lot more maneuverable now because of the rear springs are stiffer, only slightly, but they're a little bit stiffer than the front, giving the front end more bite into the corners. And they're also overall softer springs. The dampers are still at max damping. I need that to prevent the car from tank slapping or getting into tank slappers. Differential settings are pretty much the same. I don't think I've changed anything, except for the torque distribution is now set to 45, which I'll show you at the end of the video. The car it's still stable, which I like off throttle, so it tends to understeer a little bit off throttle. So in order to get the car to rotate, you have to either use the throttle or the brakes to rotate the car. It allows me to keep the car stable when I lift off throttle when the car gets a little too out of hand. And then if it gets even more out of hand, like get into a tank slapper, you can drag the brake to stabilize the car. You don't want to mash the brakes. The differential settings are set to oversteer on maximum braking so that the car rotates more. But if you drag the brake lightly, you can stabilize the car. And so with pace notes, I'm going to show the new gearing. With the pace notes on these corners, you want to run a higher gear. So a 4 is a 3. Oh, sorry, a 4 is a fourth gear is a 3. Fifth gear is a 4. So when they call out a 4, you want to be in fifth gear. Use the whole width of the track. And then when they call out a 3, you want to be in fourth gear. And use, again, maybe a little extra of the track in that case, but you want to use the whole width of the track for all the extra space to accelerate out of the corner. Alright, so that's the replay. I'm gonna go to the settings here. Will it load? There it loads. Okay, there we go. Why, there is it? Okay, I don't know what's going on here. I'm trying to move the cursor out of the way. As you can see, if you've seen my other video, the spring settings are pretty much exactly the same as the WRC. Hang on. There we go. Get rid of that sound. The suspension stiffness is exactly the same as the WRC2 car. The car probably is not much heavier or lighter than the WRC2 car, so the settings can be close to the same. The shock absorbers are at the maximum again. That's just where I like it, to prevent the tank slappers from happening. Ground clearance is set to maximum, so the ride height is now limited based on the spring rate, rather than the actual damper length. So before, I had this spring stiffness set to have the car sitting basically at the top of the shock stroke, which is not necessarily that great for bumpy conditions. So now the car with the softer springs sit a little bit lower than the top of the shock stroke, so that there's extra rebound for dips in the road to get better traction. Camber settings, I think they're still pretty good. The ride height hasn't changed much. So this is what I changed on the differential, the torque distribution, right here. It's now 45 instead of 50. Differential settings, I don't think I've changed my, except for the rear braking, sorry, not the rear, the central braking lock I've increased. And I've also changed the brake bias from 65 or 70, I forget which one, to 60. And I've used the central braking lock to adjust the brake bias. This is the same, I think. And then the gearing is what's important here, because I've increased the final gear ratio, which is just labeled the gear ratio, so that sixth gear is more usable. It's not just an overdrive gear. And I could do it in a different way. I could actually change it all up, but anyway, it works the way it is. Sixth gear is a usable gear now, and you can use all the gears from first to sixth with a nice close ratio, so that it stays within 2,000 RPM or so, in the top of the RPM range when you shift gears, which is nice. It allows for more gear usability. And I think first gear is still slip limited, just barely slip limited, so that you can actually still still accelerate out of corners like tight hairpins where you rotate essentially around a single point, and still accelerate out of corners. I think I'm repeating myself. Anyway, those are the settings. Hope that helps you out in any kind of way. Anyway, till the next one.